Alright, y'all, welcome back to Final Boss Auto Hub. And I think I have a very interesting topic that I'd like to get into. So let me paint this picture for you all, right? Say you're at a function and you're about to leave. And this function could be anything, a barbecue, park and chill, uh, a party, wherever it may be. And your parents is there, or an elder or mentally simply just looks at you and say, please drive safely or get home safely. And we all know that it comes from a very good place and they mean as well. But in reality, that endeavor really depends on our own driving skills, the weather and road conditions, and if we can avoid any freak accidents. Some of it is a little bit of luck. On the other hand, right, you have cars that are created differently. These cars have a soul that only wants to be pushed to its absolute limits, right? And I'm talking about going as fast as possible, doing illegal racing, cutting up, let's say diving into corners and ridiculous speeds and exiting even at more dangerous speeds. And these cars only care about hitting its absolute limits, even if it means pushing the driver past their own limits and possibly causing their own passing, right? In my opinion, that's a definition of what a widowmaker is, right? And I definitely assembled a list of 5 cars that I believe that are widowmakers, and is well known to be so. And if you think I'm lying, you could definitely do your Googles and look it up and debate me by the end of this video. I would love to do that. We could have a competition. Maybe this could be a series. But let me get into it. The car that I have in the number 5 position is basically the Porsche Carrera GT, right? And this car was basically created from 2004, I believe, to 2006. Now, once you see this car, you can take a look at it and you just know that it's a supercar just by looking at it. The way how it was created, the cuts, the dynamic engineering, everything about it screams out supercar. So this car was powered by I think a 5.7 liter V10 with 612 horsepower. So it's a V10, so that exhaust note is crazy. The engine induction noises is crazy. And it's just a potent vehicle. What they failed to tell you is that vehicle has no traction or stability control. So just think about that. 612 horsepower with no traction or stability control. If you're not a super experienced driver and know what you're doing and even know the car like the back of your hand, there's no way you're going to be able to control that car at 60%, even 50% of its absolute limit. You know what I'm saying? So just to give you some stats, 200 of these Carrera GTs crashed in the first 2 years when it was released. So think about it. From 2004 to 2006, essentially the whole model year the car was released, 200 of these GTs crashed. That's to show you that this car is just an absolute monster. So it wasn't only known for its legendary looks and performance, but it's also known for the untimely death of the most beloved person in the car community, which is Paul Walker. And we all know Paul Walker. Paul Walker was a hell of a driver. He did a lot of his own stunts. He was that guy, but although he wasn't driving in this accident, it's just to show you how dangerous this car really is if you don't know what you're doing. So in the number 5 position, I have the Porsche Carrera GT. All right, let's move on. Now, this car is probably my absolute favorite on this list. And this car is the first generation Dodge Viper that was created from 1992 to 1995. Now, I consider the Viper to be a step up from a muscle car. It's between a muscle car, supercar in my opinion, but it's definitely just not your ordinary muscle car. Most muscle cars have V8s. This thing had a V10, an 8-liter V10. And at the time for the first generation, it only had 400 horsepower. But you can imagine a V10 once again, rear wheel drive, pushing out all that torque. This is a different beast, y'all. This car had no safety aids, no traction control, and no airbags. Yes, I said it, no airbags. Now, I'm gonna give you an alarming stat. This car has a history of crashing before making it home from the dealership. So a lot of drivers who go and buy this car, whether it be used, brand new at that time, from 1992 to 1995, barely made it home because the car was just so potent and powerful, and they probably didn't have the skill or know what they were doing behind the wheel, which caused it to crash. Come on, man. That's a definition of a widowmaker there. Come on. That's crazy. And then if you just look at the looks of the car is a looker. It's a looker of a car. Like it had like the snouts at the bottom or the open grill at the bottom, the cuts at the side. Most of the time, the exhaust was coming out from the side of the cars under the door. It was a killer of a car. It was a looker. And growing up in Harlem, and there was a few guys that had one. They would pop up every now and then. And you see it, and you like, damn. Even now, if a Viper pulls up, it's just a different car, man. The car is crazy. So that's number 4 on my list, Dodge Viper. And let's move on to number 3. So now this car is well known. I don't know if you guys ever played Test Drive. It's one of the main cars featured in Test Drive, but it is a Shelby Cobra 427. And this car was created from 1965 to 1967. Now, I'm gonna give you some stats about this car, which what really made it really dangerous. This was a light ass vehicle. This car was only 2,400 pounds, right, in its entirety, and was paired with a 7-liter Ford V8, pushing 425 horsepower and 480 pounds of torque. Rear wheel drive. Now you saying, but you was talking about the V10s and now it's the V8s. Listen, this car is only 2,400 pounds. I think most Corvettes at the time was 27, 2,800, maybe 2,900. This thing was 2,400. So just by hearing the specs, you can tell that this was a dangerous ass car. You feel me? I mean, it was known to have almost no weight and like just no weight in the rear. You can barely grip the road when you step on the accelerator. No driving aids. And it was just known to be a very unstable car under heavy throttle. So at any time, the car could just get tail happy on you or just lose grip no matter what. You go sliding off the road, wherever may be the case. It was just too potent of a vehicle. So you have to really know what you're doing when you're driving these vehicles. You have to really have the skill, not only the skill, the gall, the cojones to really be like, I got this, and be able to control and handle these type of cars. So in the number 3 position, I have the Shelby Cobra 427. Take a look at it. It's a very unique looking car. It's a looker of a car. You pull up to that at any car event, even just going for a coffee in the morning, and you pull up, you have it parked out front, you're sitting down having your cup of coffee. It's a looker of a car. People's going to pay attention to it. But what they don't know is that was a monster of a car, right? So let's move on. So now, in the number 2 position, right? You ready for this? We have the 997 Porsche 911. Let me say that again. The Porsche 997 911 had 911 in the name. Think about it. So the 997 was produced from 2007 to 2009. This car had 530 horsepower, basically 537 rear horsepower wheels that went to the rear wheels. This horsepower that just went to the rear wheels, which is crazy. And it had, how can I say, a few modern safety features. It didn't have that many. It had a little bit more, but it didn't have that many. And we'll go into that as this list progresses. But this car was turbo drive. It had a rear engine layout, as you know, most 911s do, if not all. And it was aggressive under throttle, but as it was only aggressive under throttle, it made the tail very happy. So as you step onto the throttle, the tail of the car start going crazy. So this car is known to be a good handling car as well, but it can get very tail happy. But it also has the nickname of the modern widowmaker in most enthusiast circles. So you got to think about it. That means there was a danger to this car. This car, if you really didn't know what you were doing, really was very confident in your driving ability and know your limits, you could mess around and wrap around a tree or go off somewhere and unalive yourself, unfortunately. Although Porsche our driver enthusiasts, is a driver enthusiast company. They they are extreme as well. They'll make certain vehicles that will make you would need the skill to push it to its absolute limits if you want to get the most out of it. And unfortunately, a lot of us don't know what our limits are or how good of a driver we really are. But when you look at this car, it's a sleek car. It's one of the better looking Porsche that were designed. I'm not a big Porsche fan, but when they started making these cars a little bit more sleeker, I started to like them more. But this is a very, very good looking car. But you just have to be careful. That 530 rear wheel horsepower is different. It's a different beast, you know. So take a look at it. Tell me what y'all think. Now, number one on this list, the top car, is the original Porsche 930 Turbo. Now, just looking at this car, you can tell where all the 911s got their style cue from and how it's been tweaked over the different generations and years to come for Porsche. As you can see, it was somewhat of a looker, and then Porsche kind of made it more sleeker, a little bit more wider, gave it more power in its later years. But this was somewhat of a looker of a car. But let's get into the history of it. This car was known as the original Widowmaker. It was the first ever turbocharged Porsche. Now, with that being said, this thing was known for its infamous turbo lag. We all heard about big turbos and the lag, but this was known for its infamous turbo lag. You kind of could not tell where the turbo was going to spool and give you the immediate boost, right? And you can be driving and this boost hits you mid-corner and it overwhelms the tire, causing a snap oversteer. And you know what that means? You flipping over somewhere. You wrapping around a tree. You can't control it. It's just a different beast. Now, even drivers with the most experience struggled with the unpredictable handling of this car. A lot of drivers, race car drivers as well, a lot of drivers that were testing for Porsche were scared of this vehicle. That's to show you how dangerous this vehicle really was back in its heyday. Car is crazy, man. So, you have to think about it like when people say drive safely, although we have to think about our skill and all the other things that we have to avoid to get safely, sometimes it could just be the car that we got that is crazy and we don't even know the history of the car. So that's just some food for thought, But I do have a couple of cars that didn't make the list, just honorable mentions, I should say. We got the Ford Mustang. We all know about those cars, not the later generation, but the generation before that. Those cars leaving the let's say the cars and coffee or the car meets, and people try to do the legendary hard pull that most people do when leaving these events, and boom, next thing you know, it snaps into another car, or the tail gets happy and runs into the people that's in the crowd. So that's an honorable mention. And another one, which is going to surprise people and people of this community, and I own a BMW, so don't kill me, but it's true. The G80 M3 has great handling, but it also got a lot of power that most people are not accustomed to. And you have certain folks that will buy this car and don't know what they're doing, and then give it way more juice, because as we all know, BMW underrates their power, and they give it even more juice, and they start accelerating hard and end up on the side of the wall. So it's just an honorable mention. It hasn't given the Widowmaker name as of yet, but I thought it would be fun to mention those two cars. But thanks for watching this video. Let me know what you think. If there were cars that I missed that could be considered a Widowmaker, I could do my Googles on those as well. Put it in the chat. Let me know. Well, I said the chat, the comments. Let me know, and let's have a debate. Let me know if I missed something. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Final Boss Auto Hub out.